Okay, so I have recently noticed a huge blockage I had around money, and I find it so interesting. I'm like, I have to make a video about this. There's different blockages that we have with money. I put them in two categories. So there's the conditionings we have around money. Let's say we grow up hearing people say, oh, money doesn't grow in trees. Money is the root of all evil. You have to work hard to get money. Money is limited, like it's finite. There's not a lot of money. There's not money for everyone. And those are all conditionings and beliefs that we heard from our parents, from the government, the system, from the TV and everything, that we registered in our own consciousness as being the truth. But it's not rooted into trauma or pain. It's just something that got wired inside of us, a belief about how the world functions. And I feel like those are surface level beliefs because they're not being fed by fear, being fed by our wounds, by our pain. They are just things that are there. And I feel like a lot of like manifestation things and affirmations, it's like they're working on like these beliefs, but not at the core level. And for so long, like I knew what my limiting beliefs were around money, but I never got to the core of it. I'm like, I know there's something deeper. I know I have blockages around it. Like there's wounds or like perceptions about money, but I was never able to get to the root of it. Everything in its own timing, and it came to me. So the other thing is like deep-seated beliefs based on our pain. Like we associated, I am loved if I have money, I am valued if I have money, or if I have money, I am a bad person. You know, that belief that money is the root of all evil. It's like some people believe at a deeper place that if I have money, I'm bad. And if I'm bad, I'm not loved. And that's coming from fear. That's coming from being rejected. That's like the fear of being abandoned. And there's like all these concepts. And so for me, lately, life has been really challenging me financially. So I'm at the place in my life that I have the least money I've ever had. And I currently don't have a paying job. And I was hoping that YouTube would work out and get money from it, but it didn't really work out that way. And now I'm looking to go get a job because I really like emptied everything, and it really woke up fears inside of me because last week I look at my bank account, I'm going to the grocery, and I'm like, holy fuck, like I have almost nothing left. And I panicked, like it came from so deep. I panicked and I cried and cried. And even if I know like there's people around me that can lend me money, let's say I know my mom has an amount of money that if she lends me money, it's gonna be okay. But just the thought of asking for money was terrifying me. I've been avoiding that my whole life. I never asked anyone for money. And there was other moments in my life where I was struggling and I never dared to ask anyone. And it felt like I would be a liability. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Why am I so scared to ask for money? And so I spent the whole day reflecting and allowing the answers come to me because I did ask the universe, God, like, what is blocking me? I'm ready to see it. And I was listening to a podcast around that subject, and it was waking up like triggers inside of me. It's like I was having like aha moments of like, oh, I think there's something there. And this can translate into your life. Maybe you won't have the same things as me, but it can help you also go deeper into those wounds and being like, oh, like, you know, sometimes we look at something, we sit there, but then there's something underneath and something underneath and something underneath. And we're like, oh, okay, I'm getting to the core of it. So I realized like I always wished I had a lot of money so that I can pay stuff for people. Like this is one of my dreams. Like when I'm gonna have a lot of money, this is the first thing I think about. Like, oh my God, I could pay a travel for my mom. I could bring my friend to the restaurant and be like, it's okay, I'll pay. I can pay stuff for people around me. Okay, my battery died. So what I was saying is that I always fantasize on the idea of paying stuff for people. And as much as it's coming from a place of love, a place of wanting to share, like I've always been a giver and wanted to share and wanted to make people happy. And you know, it feels nice when people can pay stuff for you. So I always wanted to be that person that can pay something for the other person. But then I realized that this thing was also rooted in fear because, you know, there's like One action can be as much rooted in love and rooted in fear. The purpose behind me doing these videos are like, I have all of good intentions. I want to help people heal. I want to share the knowledge that I have and the introspections that I have. But it can also come from a place of, oh, I want to be seen. Oh, I want people to validate me. Oh, I want to be successful because it's going to mean I have value. You know, all those things. So it's the same thing with this. You know, I feel like it's as much coming from a place of love, of wanting to share, and it's also coming from a place of, if I am able to give things to people, I am valuable. I have value to offer them. That means that I'm valuable. And so that's where I started elaborating on, okay, where is this money thing coming from? So I realized that this was connected to me being scared for asking for money, because it's the opposite. If I have money, I'm valuable, I have something to offer. If I don't have money and I need money, it means that I'm a liability for the other person. I'm a burden. I need something from them. So I'm taking value from them. So I was like, okay, there's something there. Why is this? Why do I feel this way? Okay. So then I started journaling, and I have the journal here. I was like, okay, let me try to understand where this comes from. And most of our fears and traumas come from childhood, and they come from our relationship with our parents or caregivers. Most of it. There's other things that can come and play here, but it often comes from that place. So I started elaborating on, okay, let me start with my mom. My mom grew up working minimum wage, having 2 children under her care. Like, my parents were separated since I was very, very young, and she struggled a lot. She was always stressed, like she had us to take care of, she barely had enough money, and she loved us so much and wanted to provide for us, and she was just always stressed and always in that panic mode, survival mode. And so there I realized that I registered that if I need money, I am hurting my mom, because she needs to self-sacrifice for me. If I need something from her, I am a liability to her. And it's coming from that root, you know? And if I'm a liability, I am not loved. Even if she always loved us and never made us feel like we're not loved, this is how we register things. And I always was so scared to hurt people, so scared to be a burden. You know, that's the last thing I wanted. I was so scared to be a bad person and to be in people's way, because that would mean that I'm not worthy or lovable. So I also did that with money, that if I need money, it makes me a burden to the other person. So that's why it's always been very hard for me to ask for money. And that's why I want to have money, because if I have money, I'm not a burden. People are gonna love me because I'm not a burden to them. I could give to them. I can share. That's pretty deep. And so then I was like, okay, that's my mom's side. Now let's look at my dad's side. So my dad never really struggled with money since I was here. He never had super high paying jobs, but he always was very responsible with his money. He didn't spend a lot. He would also get coupons and buy cheaper stuff. But he was also very obsessed with money. Everything was around money, and he would always place other people's value on how much money they have. If someone has a lot of money, he's a good man, he's valuable, and he always wanted for me and my sister to have a boyfriend that has a lot of money, because that's a good man, you're gonna be in good hands, you know. So he always placed someone value on how much money he has. And as much as he never expected us to have a lot of money or told us we were not valuable if we didn't have money or stuff like that, there was also another thing that back then there was a lot of moments in my childhood where I didn't feel seen, and where I felt looked down on, as if I was lesser and that I didn't have value, or that I was not intelligent or stuff like that. And now fast forward to today, you know, my dad sees me, my dad believes in me, and he tells me he believes in me, and it's really nice, you know, to have healed this with him. But in the last year, there's a few times where he told me, oh, Stacey, I know that you're gonna have a lot of money. I know you're gonna have millions. I know you're able to do that, because he saw my worth and my skills and my ability. As much as it was nice to have him validate me and see, oh, I'm capable of it. And I didn't need that from him, because I already knew it. But it was nice for him to tell me, but in a weird way, it was always leaving me with unease. I never really understood why. Like, why does this make me feel uneased? And I understood that it's because now, if I don't achieve my goals and I don't get a lot of money, I'm a failure and I won't be valuable to my dad. And I know it's not the case. Like, my dad won't find me not valuable and find me that I'm a failure because I didn't earn a lot of money. Like, I know he loves me deeply, but how it's registered in the subconscious mind is that I won't be valuable. I will be a failure. I won't have value. And this might be the reason why I also place my value on money, because of how things turned out with my dad in the past, where he would value things with money and I didn't feel valued by him. So I registered, if I have money, well, then he would value me. And now I've been putting a lot of pressure on me, like succeeding in my goals, and it's not working. And it's making me have to face that, hey, if it doesn't work out, if I stay poor my whole life, that I'm still valuable. And can I be okay with possibly being a failure to other people's eyes? Because this is where the healing comes in. We can understand everything with our mind, with where it's coming from. But once we understand where it's coming from, we have to feel into that pain. We have to feel into the fear of being a failure, the fear of being a liability to people, the fear of being unworthy, of being unvaluable, and all those things I realized were deep down registered inside of me. I need to now face them, to release them, so they don't have a hold on me, a grip on me anymore. I wrote, let's become okay with all this. Let's come to terms with the possibility that I might have to feel like I'm a liability. I might have to deceive that. I might be unworthy to the eyes of some. I might fail financially. If I'm not needed, it's okay. So this is where the true healing comes in. And I was crying. I cried a lot that day. And after I did a fire, and I sat with those feelings. I allowed myself to become okay with the worst case scenario. I allowed myself being okay with maybe never having money, never being able to pay anything for anyone, maybe having to ask my mom for money, you know? Maybe it's never gonna work out. And when you say these things out loud and you say them to you, it brings up those fears that we're so scared for this to happen. And then you cry out those fears. And that's when you don't become dependent on these things happening anymore. It's like, oh, I need this thing to happen, because then if it doesn't happen, there's this thing inside of me that's gonna hurt and I can't face that. But once you face it, it's like, okay, what if it happens? It's okay. It's like, oh, I would rather have money and that my business works and stuff like that. Yeah, sure, for sure, 100%. Who wouldn't? But if it doesn't happen, it's okay. And I probably have other layers of this to heal. There's probably a moment it's gonna come up, it's gonna be challenged or triggered in some way, and I'm promising myself that I'm gonna face it. Whenever it shows up, I will release it. I will allow myself to see it, and slowly and surely, I'm gonna be rewiring these things inside of me and making peace with money. And the thing is that when we do that, when we actually heal our hold on these things, usually shortly after, the very thing that we needed, that we don't need anymore, comes in. So let's say I needed money to feel worthy. So I was never receiving it because I was just saying I'm unworthy, and life was not gonna give it to me because it wants me to face this. It's gonna take it away from me. And now that I don't feel I need it, well, it's just gonna come. And I'll receive it, and it won't be attached to something bigger than me. The money won't be bigger than me. I'm gonna be the big thing, attracting the money because I'm already this big thing. And even that being known, I'm not expecting any expectations on, oh, now money's gonna come in. Because that might still be rooted in I need it. Like true not needing it anymore because you're not attached to it anymore. It's gonna happen, and I'm not putting a timeline on it. At some point, I might have more than enough money. Maybe it's gonna take time, maybe it won't. Maybe I still have some stuff to release. But it feels like such a pressure has been taken off. I still need money for my everyday life. Like, we're still living in this 3D world where like I need to pay for gas and pay for food, and I don't always want to be living in other people's homes. Like, I'm not paying rent right now, but yeah, I would want to have a place of my own or buy a car and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, like I still like need money for my basic needs, but it's not attached to my value anymore. And the thing is, you tend to, the less you need it, you tend to not even spend it the same way. Like, if I have more than enough money, like, yeah, I could pay something to someone, but you tend to not put as much importance on needing to spend it or needing to have that new piece of clothing or needing to have that thing, you know. It just switches everything inside. And I'm not saying I'm fully healed from this and everything has changed. Like, it's very recent that I made these realizations and cleared these things inside of me, but I do feel a lot lighter. I don't feel triggered as much from my bank account. I also like feel comfortable asking my mom for money. I'm not asking her now because I don't need it right this moment, but the thought of like, oh, maybe next week I'll need it feels okay. It doesn't feel like really uncomfortable. It feels like, okay, I'll do it and it's gonna be fine. And you know, I've been applying for jobs and stuff, and opportunities have been starting to come, like for little jobs here and there. But yeah, so it's just, I just find it very interesting, and I know a lot of people have blockages around money, so I thought that maybe sharing this would offer more insight on your own blockages. And this is something you can do, you know, write about your childhood and go down that line and try to see where it's coming from. It always comes from not being loved. Like, everything, every time you boil it down, it's always a fear of not being loved. It's like, oh, I'm scared I'm going to be rejected because I want to be loved. Oh, I'm scared my dad won't see me because I want him to love me. It always boils down to that, because being loved is wired inside of us as survival. We need to be loved when we're children to have our parents take care of us, and we need to be loved by the tribes to not be rejected by the tribes. Like, in our ancestors, like, they needed to be accepted in the tribe and stay in the tribe, because if they were left to themselves, they would die out there alone. So it's like registered inside of us that we need to be loved. We're social creatures. So everything turns around that. All our traumas and our pain turn around that, even money. It's like the sense of security, yes, but we don't feel safe because we don't feel love. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up, comment some stuff that you feel like commenting, subscribe. Have a great day.